All right. So, welcome to our segment we call Friday Conversations. And we have our guest, Gellyahnah Aakhen. I'm pretty sure that's how you say that.
Aakhen. Yeah.
Aakhen. Okay. And I met Gellyahnah when I had a reading with her a couple months ago, maybe. I don't know if it's been that long, but I had seen you on Nicole Frolick's show. She interviewed you, and it was just so fascinating. So I got that reading, and I had never heard of soul contract readings using your name, the frequency of your name before. So I really wanted to have you as a guest so you could tell us about that. And you also have a previous life with a whole different type of job and had a startup company, and you did a TED Talk. And I'll put the link to your TED Talk in our description here. But you have a pretty amazing story. Like, we could talk for probably a couple hours about just your story, how you emigrated here from the Soviet Union, um, and there you have a lot to share. But I think today we're just going to talk about like your spiritual journey and how you discovered this modality, and just talking all about that. So
Yeah.
welcome. We're so glad to have you. How are you doing today?
Well, I'm doing great, and it is a pleasure to be here connecting with you. And thank you for allowing me on your platform to share my story.
Yeah, great. All right. So well, let me read your bio. So you were born with some intuitive talents. You have said that you always felt different from everyone. And at a very young age, you had a strong fascination with mysticism. And as a teen, you would seek out psychics, you would study astrology, palm reading, anything that you could get your hands on. And while you always had this side to yourself, it wasn't really until your divorce in 2016 that your healing and spiritual journey became the focal point of your life. It was on this journey that you discovered soul contract work, and understanding your own soul contract really played an instrumental part in your own healing journey. And you decided to become a soul contract practitioner, so you could help others understand their purpose on the earth. So you do have certifications with divine healing from the Center for Conscious Ascension, um, also for a soul contract reader at the same organization. And then you've also studied breath work, energy healing through gateway healing. Um, so that's awesome. So when did you start using your psychic gifts professionally?
Well, so it's interesting you asked that. Gosh, how do I answer that? I feel like my intuition has always been there, right? So let's say even in like the previous business I had, I was still working with people, even though it was in the business realm. People would come to me for business coaching, for connections. And I'm going to say majority of that was still my intuition. I mean, I wasn't necessarily saying, oh, come to me for intuitive advice,
Yeah.
but I would, what I do is the way my talent works, right? And everyone's works a little bit differently. I scan people's energy. Like, that's almost kind of the best way I can explain it. So it's almost like I read the energy or I scan the energy, and the energy essentially talks to me. The energy tells me what needs to happen, what's going on. So when somebody's in front of me, I'm like, oh, okay. So when I was doing, my work with the networking company, it was like, okay, Amy, you need to meet Rosemary, because you two are going to just like, blow it out of the water. Right. So it was almost like that sort of intuitive work.
So you were using your intuition and not really realizing what you were doing,
At
kind
first
of.
I wasn't realizing, and then I think I did realize it at one point, but it's not how I advertised it per se.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Right. And so people would say, what's your secret sauce? And I'm like, it's my intuition. I don't know. And they would think I'm kidding. Right. I mean, because, And honestly, it's not like I even hid it. I think people just didn't take it seriously, right? Because I was very much working in the 3D world. But to answer the question from the perspective of when did I actually step into doing readings for people, which I'm actually at the very beginning stages of doing this as the actual path, right?
Okay.
So I want to say I discovered this work in maybe 2018, 2019. I don't quite remember, but I know that I was doing readings on the side for about 3 years as I was running the other company. And when I woke up on my 40th birthday, I'm 41. So when I woke up on my 40th birthday, I had this like, this daunting feeling of like, you're done, you're out of time. Like if you don't step into doing what you came here to do, trauma is going to follow, right? Because then trauma is life's way of getting you back on track. And I was like, okay, then we got to do this. So I got on TikTok to start sharing this work. And really it was more like I was looking for an outlet. And I've been on TikTok before, but mainly to like play around with my daughter, you know, it wasn't going viral on there or anything. But all of a sudden my videos about soul contract work, I mean, they were just going crazy viral, like just boom, 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 one right after the other. And I woke up one morning and I was booked out from like, I don't know, August all the way through the end of December.
Wow.
It was incredible. Like I wasn't expecting it. I had no idea. But it was like, you know, the universe is saying, all right, let's go. We got you. You know, like how much more obvious can we make this for you? And I'm like, okay, I
Right.
hear you. So I put the company up for sale. I ended up selling that business and stepped into doing this work full time. So I want to say I just celebrated like 1 year anniversary. Like June of last year was when I got on TikTok, and it was like I think in November, October when I sold the company, right? So this is the 1 year of me stepping into doing this full time, and you know, I think there's so much more to come with this for me as well, right? Because I'm just 1 year into actually allowing my gifts to just flourish and be, and I'm
Right.
my own depth, you know, because at 40 we hit this like at different ages of our life we hit different levels of consciousness, and at 40 is a pretty big one, and I
Mm,
just hit that about a year ago, you know, so it's
yeah.
almost like I'm a baby even in my own gift skill set, you know, and not
Right.
everything gets revealed to us at once. So I don't even know what's to come, you know, but I'm here for it.
Right. Right.
You said about 40. It's funny because I did it like when it 39. I'm going to lose 40 pounds by 40. That was 6 months. And I said, that was great. That was my 40. 40 pounds by when I turned 40. And I was like, so it must be a 40, that time of your life,
Hmm. Yeah.
So on your spiritual business, how did you discover this modality? I know we're going to show in a minute or two, how you read Amy, but how did you discover this?
Yeah. So what I did is as I was going through my spiritual awakening and really healing more than anything, right? Because we all need healing from something. And I was healing from all my traumas, the cumulative traumas, you know, from childhood and, you know, heartache and yada, yada, yada. I was part of what I was doing is watching a lot of interviews on Gaia, you know, Gaia TV.
Right.
For those that aren't familiar, it's like YouTube for spiritual people.
Yeah.
And on there, or Netflix for spiritual people, but on there, I discovered, I don't know, there was a show called something like Conscious Parenting. And I was like, well, that sounds interesting. I'm a parent, you know, and I'm conscious. So let's see what this is about. So I clicked on it, and it was this man talking who's, you know, my teacher in this work. And he was essentially talking about the soul contract he has with his son. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like, it was like, it's just every cell in my body, like everything in my being was just like, it was like the world stopped spinning for a minute, you know, like I just had this intense experience of what is he talking about? This to say I was fascinated by it is like an understatement, right? So I listened to him for a little bit. I paused the TV. I got on my computer and started researching him. And okay, so he's got a book. Great. So I bought his book, went back to watching, and I'm like, no, the book isn't going to be here until tomorrow. I need this information now. So I could get on my phone, download it on Kindle. And I don't even think I finished watching the show as I started reading the book, because and then I went down this deep, deep, deep rabbit hole for weeks, maybe even a month of like decoding every single person's chart that mattered to me. And it was being downloaded into me. I was floating through different dimensions. Like physically, there was one time where I got up and I fell, just fell. Like I was like, oh my God, I'm not here. Like I'm here, but I'm not here. Like I've never had such a physical experience of not actually being in my body. But that continued for a while, and it was just there. It was a remembrance, right? Because when I did finally connect with my teacher, he was like, you've done this before. And I'm like, okay, thank you for validating, because I feel like I have. It just came to me so naturally. So like, I just got it, right?
Right.
So this is one of those rare things in life, which we're so lucky if this happens to us once or twice, but it is like a falling in love. It is a passion. It is the purpose, right? It is the calling. And when it hits you in the face like that. So yeah, I saw my teacher on Gaia.
Wow.
That's the short answer.
Yeah. So this is called soul contract reading, I guess. So what exactly are soul contracts, and why should we know what they are? Why is that important?
Yeah. So the soul contracts are, so anytime that you reincarnate into a lifetime, and we're talking about on Earth here in particular, you have a soul contract with yourself. Like what are you here to do? You don't just reincarnate nilly-willy, like, oh, let me just have a human lifetime. Like, no, souls don't come here for that. This is not the school for nilly-willy. Like we all come here with very specific lessons and very specific purposes. And most Earth souls have karma, right? Because we've been reincarnating here. And so we're just on this, like we have karma. You have your souls that, might reincarnate here from like, the different galaxies or dimensions. All right. That could be like a whole other conversation, but
Right.
specifically talking about Earth souls, most of us have had many lives and we have karma. So before we reincarnate, we choose the karma that we want to work through in each lifetime. And our karma is not meant to like we're not meant to suffer with it. It's going to be you can think of your karma as your biggest challenge in life, and you're here to clear it. Okay. So that's the soul contract with yourself. So you come in with particular karma, you come in with particular talents of what you're going to offer the world. And then goals, like things that you are like these are the things that get you out of bed, like in the morning. What do you want to achieve here? What drives you? And then ultimately you have your soul destiny, which is you can think of it as the purpose, the core. We have the word destiny on it, but like it doesn't mean you're going to achieve it. You could come here and go completely sideways, and because we have free will, right? But it's the soul purpose. What are you essentially trying to achieve?
Okay.
So that is the soul contract you have with yourself. Typically, when people think of soul contracts, they think of like, well, what is my soul contract with so-and-so, with my husband or my children, or, what's the contract between Amy and Rosemary,
Right.
So that is a concept of what is the contract between two people. And, so then the next thing people ask me is, well, how do I know who I have a soul contract with? Anyone that's significant in your life, you have a soul contract with, period. End of story, right?
Yeah.
That's how it goes. It could even be like, like I talk about how it could be the random stranger that saved you and then drove away. Like that's a soul contract right there.
Wow.
Right.
Okay. So then to answer your second question, why is it important for us to know our soul contract? Well, because I think that's part of the mystery of life that so many of us are trying to get answers to, especially people in the spiritual community. When we're going through our awakening, who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? Validation is a huge one. I get so many people coming to me for validation.
Yeah.
You know, I'm always fascinated when I get quite a bit of psychic mediums coming to me, and that's always a huge compliment, you know, because
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, you've got your own tremendous skill set that I don't. Um,
Right.
but a lot of times people want validation. Am I on the right
Mm-hmm.
path? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Um, Other times people come to me and they're in trauma, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, why is this happening to me? Why does the pattern keep repeating? You know, and we can
Right.
look at it and I can show them, well, it's sitting right here. This is the
Yeah.
frequency where it's coming from. And then they're like, well, how do I clear it? Here's how we clear it. Right. So it's healing, it's validating, it's a piece of the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you the understanding of why you're here, what you're doing, where you're going.
You
Right.
actually just answered the second question with all that, like, why do you prefer this? So do you want to put up Amy's information? That way everybody will know kind of what we're talking about too.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. We can do that. So let
Because you answered all my questions why you prefer this.
Sorry. Well, see, because I know the questions people ask. I get the same questions
Right,
over and over.
right.
Also, I'm a bit of a talker. Feel free to pause me. But okay, so here's Amy's chart, right? Amy, just to triple check, this is your chart.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. And
Yeah.
something else that we can look at too that might be interesting. Again, you know, Rosemary, if you're comfortable and you want to do this, is I can pull up your name and literally look at both of your contracts side by side, right? So this actually
Yeah.
makes it really relevant to both of you.
Right.
But here's what happens in a reading. Okay, so the first thing is I always ask people for their birth name exactly as it's written on the birth certificate. You will be shocked at how many people look at their birth certificate and say, "Oh, my name is misspelled," or "I never knew my name was spelled like this."
Oh
You know?
my.
Yeah, well, that's usually not an accident. You know, the nurse maybe put like maybe like, you know, Lynn, you could have had an E in there by
Right.
accident or whatever,
Right.
you know, but that happens often. That makes a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
So the soul usually knows that this is going to happen. And again, this is how the soul pre-plans it. So the soul actually chooses the name. It's not the parents. It's the parents' job to get it correct, right? The soul needs to get it to the parents or whoever's going to be choosing the name. So the same way the soul chooses the karma, the soul chooses the birth date, right? The soul chooses the birth name. So we can't ever change our birth name. We like, you know, so maybe when, you know, women get married, they change their last name. That's called an overlay. That now sits on top of your birth name and top of these frequencies. But this is essentially the soul contract. So this is what you're coming in with. So what I do is again, I take the name and I'm converting it into sound frequency. Okay. And we're using the Hebrew language because the Hebrew language is one of the 5 sacred languages. It's the pure vibration of source. So I'm converting it here and it's very mathematical. So you can almost think of this as a numerology of sound frequency, right? So not that to confuse it with the numerology that we're used to with, you know, our birth date, but it's a sound frequency. So then I take these numbers and I put them around the Merkaba, right? That's what this symbol is. It's a 2D version of a tetrahedron, a sacred geometry symbol, most often referred to as a Merkaba. The triangle that's facing down, this is where we're going to get your physical karma, physical talents, physical goals. And we experience these energies very dominantly between the ages 0 to 35 when our personality is getting formed. Around the age of 35, the frequencies in this triangle start to come online. And well, they start to come online stronger. You feel them your whole life. And so usually around the age of 35, people see some sort of life shifts. Divorce, marriage, career change, midlife crisis, health issues, babies. For me, it came through as my divorce around the age of 34.
Mm-hmm.
So
That was a huge aha moment when you did my reading, because I was thinking through the math of, you know, how many years ago, you know, I had taken my ex-husband back to court to get full custody of my kids, and that triggered my autoimmune stuff, which completely changed my life going forward. Like, and then that's what started eventually my spiritual awakening. So that was so mind-boggling to me because I'd never heard about age 35. I've heard about things like your Saturn return, and things changing around that, but that was just mind-boggling to me because, yeah, that was a huge turning point in my life.
Yeah, and that's so that there's quite a bit of esoteric information on um like human age phases of our lives. And so 30 between like around 35, so it could be between, like I don't know, 32 to 38,
Right.
like stuff happens. And then
Mhm.
like the 40 is another one, and then I know 65 is another one, but there's a few of them where these shifts and layers are just coming in. So, and most people will resonate with that, right? So before I even get into the reading, I explain that to them. They're like, oh my God, like most people have some sort of a major thing happening around that age,
Mhm.
which, like you said, it's a trigger for our
Yeah.
spiritual awakening. The spiritual awakening isn't always like unicorns and butterflies. It usually isn't. It's usually very painful.
Right,
Right?
right.
Which, your autoimmune disease and,
Mhm.
the journey sets you on.
Right.
So, but that's what we're looking at. Okay. And so then, so again, here's where we have our karmic points, our talents, our goals, and again, ultimately the soul destiny, the core purpose of why we are here. So then what I do is I actually go through and start explaining each frequency, right? So we usually start with a triangle facing down. We start with the physical karma because this is what people are going to resonate with the most. And Amy, you have a 7-7, so you and I actually have the same physical karma. I think we talked about that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And the keywords for the 7-7 is to heal and open up the heart.
Mhm.
So it could sometimes show up as heartache, and then
The PhD in heartache.
yes, thank you, the PhD in heart. That's why I tell people PhD in heartache. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, because you're here to learn how to mend your heart, which means somebody
Mhm.
has to come in and break it.
Right.
Right. Now, the reason for that is um, did we also talk about you being a magnet for people? Like people
Yeah.
just showing up in your life and telling you their whole life story and they
Right.
don't even know
Yeah.
why?
Yeah.
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 That's
Yeah.
also from the 7. The 7s are extremely magnetic. They're very
Mhm.
catalytic. You're here to
Mhm.
help people. You're here to help them grow. You're here to help them finalize decisions. You're here
Mhm.
to push them to say the right thing, to share your experience with them.
Mhm. Mhm.
But the interesting thing about 7s is that they don't always like to share. They don't always like to be seen. They don't
Mhm.
always like to connect emotionally with people and for people to know their private business.
Mhm. Mhm. Yep.
So, so so the journey of the 7 is usually to heal their heart and feel safe enough to show up as their authentic self in order to actually share with people and connect with people and bring them together in groups to heal. This is also like the ultimate networking frequency.
Okay. So uh, how can you use this type of reading to help someone with healing or forgiveness? Like, can you talk more about that?
Yeah. So I think, again, somebody might come to me and say, why does everybody in my life keep betraying me? Like, what is going on? It's just like one betrayal after the other. And I'm going to look at this and say, okay, well, there's a few things going on. One, you have 7s in your karma. Okay. So all matters of the heart are going to be things you're going to have to work through in life, and your soul pre-planned it. So
Mhm.
but again, and then they say, well, can I get away from this frequency? It's like, well, no, I mean, you can step into the positive aspects of the frequency. The positive aspect is healing the heart. When you heal your heart, and you've cleared the karma, you're actually no longer attracting heartache. You don't need that anymore.
Okay.
Right. So it's almost like it's really up to you how quickly you want to grow in consciousness and hit the awakening state of personal growth. This is where free will comes in, because you could come in and never work through the karma.
Right.
You could completely shut your heart down and say, this is horrible. I'm never opening up my heart again. And then you never heal it. And then guess what? You have to reincarnate and bring
Do
back the
it
same
over
karma.
again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's it's really up to each individual what they want to do. Then I could look at your nines and say, well, you've got quite a bit of disempowerment going on. That tells me that you've been in situations in life where your power has been taken away from you. Maybe in childhood. Oftentimes the nine shows up as abuse of some sort, not for everybody, but oftentimes it does.
Or
Maybe
neglect. Would neglect be? I could see that in my childhood, possibly just with my mom's mental illness. But then in adulthood, there's definitely abusive marriage. So yeah,
the nines tend to attract narcissists.
yeah, for sure. That's for sure.
Yes. Now, and the reason for that is it's like a power control, because the narcissists also usually carry the nines. So the
Mm,
nine can show up as either the victim or the abuser.
okay.
So you're either the victim of the narcissist or you're the
Right.
abuser, and so you're going to have certain souls to come in to volunteer to play the villain in your life, because somebody had to cause you the disempowerment in order for you to learn how to take your power back. Right. Somebody had to give you that experience.
Right.
So the goal with the nines is for them to realize how powerful they are. The nine is a dragon. You carry dragon energy.
Oh, I don't think you said that last time.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Well, I'm glad I get to tell you that now. Yeah. So
Right.
we probably got into
Other things.
yes. And it's interesting because here's the thing, in a reading, I'm saying what comes up, like, right. Like what's coming through, what comes up. If we look at your chart in 3 years from now, even though it was the same frequencies, you may be at a different level. So now I'm getting like different things that I need to say to you.
Right. So you do use your intuition at the time of the reading and you get different information. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And it's again, it's not necessarily even sometimes it will take a moment and pause and be like, okay, what are your guides? Because sometimes your team will be, it depends on your team. Sometimes they're really loud.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's, and if the person I'm doing a reading for is very mental, then I feel the mental energy and I feel like I have to hold a lot of space. When I get really conscious people, it's a completely different conversation. So it depends on the person's consciousness level and where they're at. But yeah, but the nine is a dragon. It's very powerful. It's the most powerful frequency in this entire modality. And when you step into this power, there's nothing that you cannot accomplish. Nobody that can, people aren't going to come at you. It's a very intimidating sort of frequency. Could be intimidating to people, but it's also very much about being a peacemaker. But again, the way most people experience it in life initially is complete opposite. It's complete disempowerment.
Right. That makes sense.
So what are karmic connections, and like how do they show up in this type of reading? Is it through the numbers, and like how would you break those cycles? Just try to get out of them.
Okay, great question. Yeah, so to look at a karmic connection, Rosemary, do you want to look at your name? Because to look at a karmic connection, I need to look at two people side by side.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So let's do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, hold on, let me stop sharing my screen for a moment, only because I don't know what other names we have for Amy, and I don't, Amy, there's one name on here. I think it's a male name. Do you want me?
Rogelio, my husband. Yeah, you can know that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure, I don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, so who's that, Amy?
Rosemary, let's go ahead and add your name. What is your birth name?
Rosemary and Pushkaric, Puskaric.
P-U-F like Frank?
No, S as in Sam.
S as in Sam. Okay, hold on. Okay, so S as in Sam.
K-A-R-I-C.
I see. Okay, I missed the I in there. Do you have a middle name?
No, not at birth, no.
Okay. And what is your birthday? The year?
71. 6/22/71.
Okay, hold on. 71, 6. And what was the date again? 22?
22,
Okay, so June 22nd, 1971.
correct.
Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at, first we're going to look at just the birth names, and I'll share my screen here in a moment. Okay, now I don't know if you two have a karmic connection, but we'll see what comes up here. So, okay, so Amy, here's your chart. Rosemary, here's your chart. These are your names side by side. Okay. So
You don't have anything that matches.
Well, we have 15-6.
Yeah, you both do have 15-6. Is that, yeah, that's
Yeah.
actually a pretty strong connection. And
Oh, okay, I see it. I won't be good at playing games to match, so never mind.
but Rosemary, for you, what I see is it's showing me that you're very creative, either artistically or somebody that has a lot of ideas.
I do. I always make little crafty things and think how to fix stuff and create things. So yeah.
Okay.
I also noticed she has a dominant vibration, but I didn't. And that was something we were going to ask you towards the end. Our partner, Jen, she had 3 dominant vibration numbers in her chart. She had it done with someone else. And what does that dominant vibration mean?
So when you have 4 or more of the same frequency, that's a dominant vibration of your soul. So look how many 6s Rosemary has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's why she has, and that's why I said the 6 is the ultimate creation frequency. It's like, it's not about being artistic. Like it's great that you make crafts, but you're here to manifest your ideas into the physical reality. Right. That's so your ideas, like the 6s, they have this ability to, like, if you look at the symbol, they have this ability to take a simple thought and turn it into a creative knot. And if you're not doing that, or if you're not feeling it, usually there's some sort of a blockage, because the ideas are coming from a soul level. And the negative aspect of the 6 is that they're not connected to their soul essence. They're not getting the message quite across. Like the soul is having a hard time communicating, and there's it's because of the blockage. And then there's some sort of like it could show up as frustration, it could show up as being unfocused. In the most positive sense, they're very determined to get things done. Like once they get something in their mind, they're going to pursue it. Again, maybe sometimes when they're younger, it's more of like, okay, I have this idea, but unless it's going to be successful, I don't want to pursue. Like they're not risk takers. They don't want to.
I'm not a risk taker. I like it just the way it is. No risk.
That's right. So that's the negative aspect of the 6, right? Because you're actually somebody who needs to take your ideas and do something with them. Okay. You're a doer. You're here to manifest. You're here to physically bring things into reality.
I do. Like I work constantly, so it's not that part. That's the part I need to slow down and stop having that, because I'm constantly always wanting to be busy. Like me sitting here is like, oh my God, I can't believe I've sat so long. Like I'm always moving and moving and moving, but I don't take the time to manifest any of my thoughts or anything because I'm always physically busy.
Yeah.
So does that 15-6 mean that we have a karmic connection there? And what does that
mean? It does not. No, you two don't actually have a karmic connection that I see. Now, hold on, Amy, let me look at your other names, because Rosemary doesn't have a middle name, but you do. So you went by Amy without Lynn, and then you got married. Okay, so let's look at your other names to see if there are any connections that way.
Well, here you have dominant 6 on the 1.
Yes. So Amy also has a lot of creativity.
Yeah. And then we talked about when I married my husband, he brought a lot of 8s, and that was like a lot of stability or security or grounding.
Grounding.
Yeah.
Grounding. Yeah. The name brought in a lot of grounding for you. I don't know if he was grounding to you. but just the frequencies of the name that you took on.
Okay.
And see all these 17 eights, these are all public speaking frequencies. And you
Wow.
have this in your soul destiny.
Right. I
And
remember you said that was really rare for soul destiny number to be that speaking.
yeah, it's not as common for me to see.
Mhm.
You know, so rare for maybe all the readings I've done. I don't see this one very often at all.
Right.
I think I was telling you, it was almost like I had 3 or 4 readings back to back. I knew I had 17 eights, but then I haven't had any since, or that
Oh,
many
wow.
before. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting to me how that happens. But this is about speaking into society. Like, you have this way of saying the right thing at the right time to people, and it's very healing for people. The 17, this is the analogous mouthpiece of God.
Mhm.
And so it's interesting because, again, you have this in your soul destiny. When you married, you took on this name and you brought in even more of this frequency
Right.
to probably help you, achieve what you need to achieve. But initially, it also feels very, because the lesson with the 17 is slavery to freedom.
Mm.
So it's like feeling someone's dominion over you.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's almost like you've got to find your freedom
Right.
in many
Right.
ways. But okay, but again, trying to find I want to show you what a karmic connection might look like. So, Amy, what I see in your current name right here, you see how, let me get my red pen. You see how you have a 4-4 right here?
Yeah.
And Rosemary, you have a 4 right here.
Oh,
So this would be a connection between you two, like a pretty strong one. Now, would I go as far as saying this is a karmic connection? I d- it's I'm not sure. I know it's a strong one, but it's not in Amy's birth name, and it's her married name and it's her short married name.
Right.
So she carries the frequency, but essentially, the way I check for karmic connections is the spiritual talent has this, or a talent, it could be a talent position, physical or spiritual, and it has this 4, and then Amy sits in the karma. So your 4 is helping Amy essentially work through her karmic 4.
Mm.
Do you see that? And so this 4 is all about it's a foundation. It's a teacher frequency. The 4s are typically very generous. The lesson of the lesson of the 4 is to learn to trust, because the keyword is trust. So the 4s are usually not very trusting, right? So
Mhm.
Rosemary, have you had trust issues in life? Have you ever felt
I don't
abandoned?
trust anybody.
You don't trust anybody?
I really know.
Okay. Well, so that's from that 4, right? So they're not, again, that's their journey in life, is they've got to learn to trust. And it's sometimes it's not even so much about people, but it's in the fact that the universe is working for you, and the universe has your back, and everything will work out the way it needs to.
And I believe that. And everything I do, that, even if it's something bad that happens, it works out the way it's supposed to anyway. It's not that I don't trust anybody. It's just the point you have to, my trusting, I do things myself, so I know it gets done right. I guess that's where I trust. When you put your trust into someone and they don't do what they're supposed to do, that's why I don't really trust anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah.
People have a wonderful way of disappointing us, which just teaches us expectations.
Yeah.
The lesson of not having expectations of people. I mean, everything comes with something, but your 4 sitting in a talent position would be supporting Amy's 4. Again, however, Amy's 4 is coming in her married names. So I don't, Amy, although again, you actually do have a 4 in your common name from your birth name. So you may also feel some scarcity, may also have some trust issues,
Mhm.
and you could be feeling it here, you could be feeling it here, but maybe there's some sort of a trust connection with you and Rosemary. Like maybe
Right.
you two actually trust each other in some way.
Right. Right. For sure.
So
Yeah.
that would be the core connection I'm seeing between you two, where, okay, we trust each other. So let's see what we can build off this foundation. And so it's almost like this connection kicks off the rest of how these frequencies would play out with each other.
Right. So do you ever get what if you're comparing like a married couple, do you ever see like a karmic connection? I mean, does that make it uncomfortable to do that that reading? Like can anything be done about that? Or like are they destined to have to
Not
end
work
their
out? Is that what you're
relationship?
asking?
Yeah, no, great question. So, yes and no, because some karmic connections could actually not be like, how do I say it? There's some people that come in with karmic connections where they have to work through karma. And then there's some people that are here with karmic connections to support each other.
Okay.
So it almost depends which soulmate you're with and what is going on between the two souls. I find that many karmic connections are just painful. So yeah, even if they're married and they're coming in and I see the karmic connection and then they're like, it's usually the wife and she's like, things aren't working out. And, I can see that. Now, could they work through it? Yeah, possibly, because the way that I look at it also is you have soulmates and then you have karmic connections. You could have a soulmate that you're working through karma with.
Okay.
So what I can't usually tell in these readings is, well, I guess what this reading itself doesn't tell me is, are you with your soulmate that you're working through karma with, or are you with a karmic connection?
Okay.
But what I do is when I have the two contracts side by side and I'm looking at the frequencies and how they're correlating with each other, I'm talking to the person, I'm getting information. It's like, there's a pretty big picture that gets shown of like what's going on here. What role does this person play in their lives? Right. So again, it's a deeper conversation. There's nothing is so black and white.
Right. It's not simple.
It's not, but when I tune into the energy and I see their frequencies in front of me, again, that's what starts to give us that bigger picture and what was meant to play out, because like you'll see with a lot of like every single one of my significant relationships, all the guys, they all have a 7-7 sitting right here in their talent position, right? Which is a direct correlation to my karmic 7-7.
Okay.
So they were all significant in a sense where they helped heal my heart, but they also destroyed my heart.
Right.
So it's this really strong sort of karmic connection. One of them is my soulmate, not like my primary soulmate, but he's just one of my soulmates I travel with. One of them is not a soulmate at all. He was literally a connection I was working through some karma with. And the other one, I actually can't tell if he's my soulmate or a really strong karmic connection, but my connection with him is like no other. But I also haven't experienced a primary soulmate yet in this lifetime.
Okay.
Can I ask you,
Interesting.
when you look at Amy Banaga, the number 6, the short one, with all them, that's okay, with all her little numbers, they're all the same. Does that say something to you?
Yes.
That one right there. What do you see when you see them? Because they're just 17, 8s, and 4s.
Yeah, that's a great question. So this is happening. They're repeating numbers because this is a short name. So this is not an ideal name for Amy. She's essentially cutting off half her frequencies.
Oh.
Right? Because these frequencies are sitting on top of all of these, and there's just not enough sounds in Amy Banaga. Am I saying it right?
Amy Banaga.
Banaga. Okay, Amy Banaga. There's not enough sound frequency to have all these other ones come out, or what am I trying to say, to bring out the rest of the sound frequencies that potentially could be there, by putting Lynn in there. Or even like, with her birth last name, she had the full set of frequencies. So usually when I see this, I always suggest to people that we optimize their name, like feng shui for your name, to bring in the best frequencies for you to help you work through your karma, and ultimately work through what you need to work through.
So when you
That
do
would-
that was going to be my next question about the name optimization. So is that something that you have to do legally, or would you just like start operating using that different name?
Okay, great question. So I'm going to tell you, so my teacher, Nicholas, he would absolutely say that it should be done legally.
Okay.
I will tell you that for me, I've had a number of name changes in my life because remember, I came here from a different country. So that's just how it happened. I wasn't like trying to change my name every few years, but that's just how my life happened. And a name that I went by for a very long time that was never my legal name, but because I had it for so long, got on legal documents and essentially I embodied it, Gellyahnah. And I had it for so long that I feel like I really took on that. I took it on, like I just
Right.
did, the challenge, sometimes is, well, there's no challenge. I mean, again, every case is unique. That's the thing, is like, so for some people that might be a challenge, for some people it's not a challenge. So I always suggest to people, before you ever change your name legally anyways, you are welcome to sit with a name for years and feel it out, because you're going to feel the frequency.
Right. Right.
And either way, even if you do legally change your name, it still legally sits on top. Not legally,
It's
but
still an
energetically,
overlay.
it's still an overlay.
Okay. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because you can't change your birth name, just like you can't change your birth date.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So, the way I put names out into the matrix is I suggest to people to change it up in your social media, put it in your email signature, put it in Amazon Prime if you're like me and you get packages coming daily, that
Yeah.
that puts it out in the matrix. Just start going by it, because Gellyahnah Aakhen is the optimized version of my birth name, which is Gellyahnah Aakhen. It's, again, because I was born in former Soviet Union. In America, I'm Gellyahnah Aakhen, but nobody can pronounce, Americans, when they pronounce Gellyahnah, they say back as Gellyahnah.
Right. Right.
So that's where Gellyahnah came from. The spelling is the phonetic version because it gives me the most optimized frequencies. Right. So for instance, Amy, you've got a 7-7. Well, the best thing to put on top of a 7-7 is a 13-4, because this is a very loving frequency. So it helps heal the heart. Right. So for me, in my Gellyahnah Aakhen name, I have 13 4s sitting right on top of all my heart achy frequencies.
Okay.
So
what letters so I would look at the alphabet and see what letter is 13 and what letter is 4?
It doesn't work like that. No, no, it's not. I
change
wish
your
it was a
name.
science like that. Yeah, but it's got to be a combination of sounds, right? So let's just do a live example. Let's see if we can. So for instance, if you came to me for a name optimization and, I was like, okay, Amy, you've got a short name. We've got to change this. Either you always go by Amy Lynn, or let's see what happens if we put Amy L, like as the initial L. Now, with initials, I'm going to do it phonetically. So Amy, you would still write it as the letter L, but I write it like this, L, just as the phonetic sound. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to put it right here. Okay. So see, Amy L does
there's
bring
a
in different frequencies.
13-4.
You're right. There is a 13-4, 100%. And the 13.4 is Christ consciousness frequency. It's like unconditional love.
Mm,
You know, it's a beautiful frequency to have in your chart.
yeah. That's so cool how you figured that. I mean, that was fast. You figured that out fast.
I didn't know there was going to be a 13.4. Let's just to be clear, you know, but there is, because possibly that's meant to be one of the frequencies that you're meant to carry.
Right, right. That's so interesting. So
Yeah.
I could start like I could create like a new email account and make it Amy L. Banaga.
I don't think you need to create a new email account. You would just, in your email signature, you would just
Oh,
write Amy L.
okay.
Banaga. Now, are you planning on keeping this last name?
Yeah, yeah,
Let her say yes, huh?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean the letters. Yeah, that's, you know, it's sometimes that's what, sometimes we marry somebody and purposely take on their name
Yeah,
frequencies, you know.
right, right.
So now the challenge, okay, I'm going to tell you though, there might be a few challenges. Okay, so I got to look through everything, because remember now Amy L is going to be sitting on top of Amy Lynn and Amy Lynn Brubaker. So
Right.
see how you have the same number here? This is a clash.
Oh,
So this is not actually ideal, because you've got the same frequency sitting in a karmic position. So you're going to have this frequency is going to like clash with itself.
okay.
The 15 it's about going in circles. It's about finding yourself. It's about not taking risks. It's about analyzing everything to death, like analysis paralysis. It's about, it's a gentle journey of finding yourself. And you already have a 15.6 in your spiritual goals,
Right.
which tells me that you're already on this journey. So I don't know that we would want to clash these
Okay.
15.6s for you here.
Okay.
So this for you then actually is not so ideal.
Optimize, yeah.
Yeah. The other option for you is to just all go by Amy Lynn on everything.
Okay.
I mean, people are still going to call you Amy. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like that's still normal.
Right.
But when it's written, it would just always be Amy Lynn.
Okay.
So, and that way you're sort of eliminating this. And then, so how does Amy Lynn play into everything? Well, okay, so Amy Lynn, I want to show you, has a clash in its own, in the karma with a 7.
Hmm.
So sometimes, you know, the clashes are not so bad. Sometimes they are, but you know, like I have a clash in I actually have the same clash in my name. So my name, my legal name is Gellyahnah. The way it's spelled has a 16.7 right here. You and I have the same clash. This is so fascinating. I also have a 16.7 and it clashes with my 7.7 in my,
Wow.
yeah. So,
Huh. Interesting.
but I haven't legally changed. See, it's interesting because even if I legally change my name as Gellyahnah, that like my birth name is not, because my birth name is different because I was born in Russia. Did you see what I mean?
Right. Right.
So for me, if I get rid of my legal name, it actually does get rid of the clash.
Oh.
Right. But it's not like that for everybody. So that's why I said it's such a unique case by case basis. I left my clash alone for now. I may revisit it later in life. I'm not sure, but I'm just, again, because we're doing this publicly, I don't want to just not
Yeah.
mention the clash. You know, somebody
Right.
sees it in 10 years and they're like, why? She didn't say anything. So this is a clash. And yeah, that's the only clash I actually see. So
Well, I watched a video about your teacher and he was talking about his book and he talked about how he changed his name. He added the middle name David.
mhm.
And how once he did that, his business just like skyrocketed, took off because of the frequency it added. It's so interesting.
100%. Yeah. And same with me, you know, when I optimized my name, he asked me, he's like, what do you want? I said, I want financial freedom. He said that you needed 22.4
Oh,
in your name.
I got that.
You've got that.
I was going to ask
Yes.
you what the circle and the triangle was.
The very powerful frequency, Rosemary, that you have. The
got
22
goosebumps.
fours. Yes, it is like they have the potential to build wealth, quite a bit of wealth here. But again, the lesson is scarcity to abundance, right? So usually there's some sort of a scarcity experience in life where financially maybe they kind of go up and down, up and down. And you were born with it. So it's a bit more of a challenge for you to work through the negative aspects of this frequency, but also sitting in your talents. So you're really meant to be in the talents of this. And the talents of this frequency is about you understanding your multidimensional nature, you just being all encompassing, just being very complete within yourself, finding and really understanding your core essence of who you are and loving it for the beauty that it is. And then sharing that with others, like shining it out through your soul. They're very good oral, like the 22 fours, they have a very good oral ability. But it also could show up sometimes as like fertility, infertility. Do you have children?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No.
And can I ask, was it like by choice or?
Yeah, I just never, not that I couldn't, I just never did. I
Never
always
did.
feel like I was never meant to have children for some reason. No, it
Okay.
wasn't because I couldn't medically or anything.
Right,
No.
right. So oftentimes what I see with 22 fours is they don't have, well, I'm going to say it all the ways it could show up, but because again, the lesson is fertility, infertility. So sometimes I see it as women not being able to have kids. Sometimes I see them as not, because the 22-4 is a creation frequency. So they're not right. Birthing, creating a child is kind of like the ultimate act of, life creation. So sometimes I see them as not doing that. Not that it's a bad thing. Again, I'm just saying how I see this frequency show up. Sometimes because the lesson is also infertility, fertility, they'll have like 4 kids by accident. So it really plays out in a number of different ways. But part of that is also creating wealth, right? Because it's about creating. And so for me, when I optimized my name, I brought this front and center. So in Gellyahnah, it's sitting right here, right at the top.
Wow.
To bring me in, clients, money, business, just all of it, just like it's constantly just bringing it in.
But those little squigglies with my 6, are they, everybody that reads me, we went through a course and everybody reads me tells me I'm in my own way. Get out of your way. You're moving your path. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. Do you see that in there?
That you're in your way.
Yeah, everybody tells me I'm in my own way, to get out of my way. Like, I don't want people like to be like always notice me or stuff. I just like a normal little life.
Like self-sabotage, maybe?
Sort of. Is that in there? Because everybody tells me that and I don't feel that way. So those little squigglies don't mean that, because there's 3 of those.
Yeah, I mean,
On
the
the
6 would talk about, like I said, you really are here to like manifest and create things into the physical. Like, if you're not doing that, maybe you're in your way. I mean, I'm just trying to see how that could maybe.
I mean, I live good because I always say God always provides for me. Do you know?
Yeah.
Now, right now, I'm taking care of my mother, and she's older, so I always like, this is what I'm supposed to be in life, and I know that, and I love my outdoors. I'm outside like all the time, like, and that's me. Like, I'm nature, and but I never feel like I'm in my way. I like my life the way it is. And it was like, you're just hiding behind stuff. I'm like, I don't feel like I am. I like quiet and peaceful.
Yeah. I do see where inner peace is important to you. That's from this frequency. You see how it's a wave?
Yeah.
So this might be why you're constantly in motion, because that's a lot of movement right there.
Okay.
And the lesson here is war to peace. So the 20s are here to find their inner peace. Usually they experience some sort of conflict or some sort of rigidity, maybe earlier on in life. and they're here to find their inner peace and to explore, you know, everything outside of their own, like whatever rigid experience they had initially in life. Like, was that part of your experience? Like, were you raised in a strict family or military or religious?
We were, I always say I was brainwashed Catholic, but yeah,
Okay.
it was Catholic family. Nothing against Catholic, I mean, nothing like that. But yes, and we were. And to this day, my mother still says things like, quit saying those stupid little phrases and everything, you know, or something like that. So yes, most of my life it was rigid, as in this is the way we live, and she's still like that. And that's what I deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's this frequency right here. And you're meant to completely break out of that rigidity and to just flow and explore and learn and see how other people live. You know, it sometimes this shows up as physical travel, sometimes it shows up as it's exploration of the mind, right? So it's just going.
And it's funny because I say, like, there's nobody after me. Like, I don't have children. So I said, I break the cycle now. Like, I'm it. You know, this, what came over the generations to me, it stops. So that's how I feel, you know.
Mm, that's interesting. Well, the 15/6s, I'll tell you, here's the connection that you both have that I see is actually pretty strong between you two. The 15/6s are here to, it's like you're both being initiated in this lifetime to come into the next lifetime, and live a very spiritual existence. And
That makes
Amy, I
sense.
see that it's like you've actually done this before, because the 18/9s, they usually have, they've like, you typically evolved spiritual souls. That's what your 18/9 tells me. And when it sits in the spiritual gold position and the soul destiny, it's like you're both on a similar, like you've had a very different path in life, but you're on a similar soul journey of coming, like like whatever you're learning here, whatever you're doing here, you're coming back in the next life, as like the spirit, like, I don't know if it's a spiritual leader, but it's like this lifetime is some sort of an initiation for the next, like they're connected. And so that's like the big connection I see between the two of you, where you probably are, you feel like you're on a similar soul path.
Interesting. Yeah, that's really cool. Well, so do you, I know you can look at names of family members and compare them. Do you do that for like business partners? Because we thought about having the three of us like look at our charts together.
Yeah, absolutely. I look at, you know, I can look at the three of you together, and I can look at your business name for sure. So like here, if we let me show you the example really quick. Like, is there do you have a name for this podcast?
Well, the name of our YouTube channel, and we have a Facebook group too. It's Sisters Within the Consciousness. Kind of a long name. Lots of vibrations in there.
It's okay. Sisters Within the
Consciousness.
Consciousness. Okay.
I think there's a, yeah, there you go. And actually, our other partner, Jen, we have her chart. So we have her full birth certificate name too, if you wanted that.
Yeah, we can take a look at it.
Maybe we got to get rid of some of you.
Yeah, there's a bunch of me on there.
Yeah.
Get rid of the little 4 and 17. We know that one. We don't like that one, Amy. That's why we're partners. I'm telling you how it is.
Funny. That's her name now. Okay, so let's all right, we'll do this. So okay. The 3/3 is all about communication. That's the key word. So it's like teachers, you're master teachers with this name. Like, this is the resonance that comes off this name. And the abilities are 9. So dragons, you've got some dragons in there. It's very powerful.
Wow. That's so cool.
We just made that up.
I know.
We made it up.
Yeah.
made it up for a reason, obviously.
Yeah. That's so neat.
Yeah. So it's about empowering people with education.
Wow, that's what we wanted to do, teach people.
Yeah. Well,
Exactly.
and so the 9, remember I told you how the 9 is all about, the keyword is power. So it's empowering, it's catalytic, and you do that by educating people. So that's what that was the intention you set, and this is the name you came up with these sound frequencies.
Wow.
That's so amazing.
Perfect. That's great. Like that just kind of, if anybody listening, whoever listens to us and they see this at the end, that's awesome.
Wow. That is so neat. Do
Should
you
Now,
want
where did, like, I do Reiki, so I know symbols. So where did these symbols, were they downloaded to somebody? Like, I didn't read the history of all this. Did they come to somebody like they did, as in Reiki symbols did, sort of?
Yes.
Okay.
A man by the name of Frank Alper in the 70s, he channeled the symbols. And he's actually the one that channeled this work. He called this numerology of Moses. So like this was practiced, in ancient times, but the art got lost. And so he channeled it in the 70s and was teaching this work. And my teacher, who lives in the UK, happened to walk into one of his seminars it was either Scottsdale, Arizona, or Sedona, Arizona, which is where I live, which is so random, because my he lives in the UK anyways. And that's how where he met Frank. And he was so blown away by this work. He ended up studying with Frank, and then he took the concept. Frank passed, as he was writing the book. So then Nicholas, he's got his own book, and then he developed the software around it. So again, this is very like, this isn't like, this is such powerful work, and it's not we've all heard of human design. Well, so I'm just going to use that as one of the modalities, right? Well, this work is nowhere near that. It has the potential to be that scalable. But just to show you in how raw form it is, why people say, I've never heard of this. And it's like, well, it's ancient, but it hasn't, there's so much consciousness around it. It hasn't got into mainstream to just be kind of blown up. But do you see what I mean? What I'm trying to say? Hopefully it makes sense what I'm trying to say. So.
And I had to ask,
remember
because someone would say, what are all those squiggly lines? So I had to ask where they came from, because someone was going to ask that.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Great question.
well, and synchronicities are so cool. I don't know if you remember, I told you our other partner, Jen, just like your teacher, she was born in not Australia, New Zealand, but lives in the UK. And so did your teacher. He was born in New Zealand and but lives in the UK. Yeah. So it was just kind of interesting, all those little synchronicities. Can I give you Jen's name to compare?
Absolutely.
So it's Jennifer Ann with an E, Macmillan, Macmillan.
Okay, Macmillan.
Yeah.
Okay, and when is her birthday?
Oh shoot.
It's okay if we don't have it.
Yeah, I don't have that in front of me. It's not on
worries.
here.
No worries. Okay, so let me put all of you next to each other.
And she had dominant vibration of 4, 9, and 7. Like all her numbers were doubles.
Yeah, here, so that's it too. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so she came in to do something very, 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 very specific. Right.
Wow.
So she's here to disseminate information. She's here to teach. I don't know if she's got trust issues, but the 4s, again, it's about trusting, it's about feeling abandoned, it's about stepping into the role of abundance and knowing that there's enough of everything here in life for us. The 7s, she's also a people mag. She's extremely catalytic to people. She's here to push people, just very powerful. The 7s and the 9s are, and she's got both of them.
Wow.
Yeah, very powerful frequencies. And so let's see. if there are any connections between the three of you. Oh, because she also goes by Jennifer McMillan.
Mhm.
So let me look at that. Okay, so, oh, and she's, yeah, very expansive. She's meant to. So she also has threes in her chart. So again, she's a teacher. She's absolutely meant to teach here. That's a big part of
So,
what she's here to do.
so her married name is Waller, Waller. So would that make any difference with us?
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to bring in more frequencies.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I can look at all of it, like this, but
Oh, that's a lot.
Huh.
well, I can tell you she brought in the frequency of endurance by
With her marriage.
with her marriage. Yeah, I don't know if she, like, if she were here, I would ask her, like, since you got married, do you feel like you've had to endure things? Like, have things gotten a little more difficult?
Me and her share a lot. The 22s and then the 22-4. Yes, on that last one.
Yeah.
But they're not the same across, but still there.
Yeah. You do. So yeah, this there's like too many names right now for me to
Yeah.
Right.
look at,
Right.
you know,
Crazy.
but yeah, there's some connections, right? So like Amy with your 11-2, you're sort of supporting Jennifer. See, she's got a 2 right here. And you know, you've got a Jennifer, well, that's Jennifer's own name. But so Jennifer helps you. It's like both Jennifer, both Jen and Rosemary help you with trust. Like you trust them, or I don't know.
Right.
That's the biggest connection I'm seeing so far is the trust.
Right.
You have a connection with Jen right here because you have a 9 in your talent, and she has a 9-9 spiritual karma. So you maybe help empower her.
It's cool.
I think we all do. Like the three of us all together. There's something one of us say because it's like we needed that. So I think the three of us together, you know, it worked out well. So Amy chose good on asking us.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I would have to kind of sit here and play, you know,
Right,
just because
yeah.
there's a lot of frequencies going on, but I don't see any obvious clashes between the three of you. And, you know, Rosemary, the only thing I would say is you're the only one that doesn't have 3s in your name, and 3 is that master teacher frequency.
I don't like to teach. I'm just like everybody thinks like I don't know. Everybody like listens to me like when I say things. They're like I just like to be the student, and I'm not a good student.
So she could give herself a middle name that would maybe give her some 3s or something,
We'll have to make up
or to
something.
optimize.
100%. Yeah,
Mhm.
she absolutely could, you know, like, yeah. So I don't know, Rosemary, is there a name you've ever resonated with?
No, not really. I mean, it's kind of weird. I like it the way it is. I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, we
I
don't
hate
have
to
to
change
change.
up what I like, you know,
Yeah.
even though I'm just plain and
Yeah. There's no
Yeah.
need to do any of that. You know, again, it's like your intuition always knows best. So, but ideally in a business, I only said that because ideally in a business name, you want the frequencies of the business to match up to the frequencies in your name.
Oh,
So I was saying,
yeah.
both, like, you're the only one that doesn't have 3s or 9s in your name. Both Amy and Jen have 3s and 9s.
Oh, she doesn't have any 9s either?
No, she doesn't.
Wow, that's interesting. All right, Rosemary, got to get you a middle name with 3s and 9s.
We need some 9s. Come on, 9.
Or like a pen name, or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Your kid's name.
like your persona, like your public
Yeah.
persona.
Make up something good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. You can have fun, play with it, you
Right.
know, if you want, but yeah, but again, these are all the things that I would like dig into. And again, you know, maybe we can go a little deeper, but it feels you know, like Gil said, it feels really like a supportive thing. And I feel you're all going to learn so much from each other. You know, this is going to be a way for you to work through stuff, especially with the 3s. You're going to have to talk about, you're going to have to bring up things that you maybe normally push down and suppress, you know, like, because the 3s tend to push things down, you know. Rosemary, not you, because you don't have the 3s, but for Jen and Amy. So gosh, so there you go.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
That's
I think
really cool.
yeah.
This is
Thank you.
awesome. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing and giving us a little bit of freebie there.
Thank you. Yeah.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
I'm sure people will come your way looking for like, well, that was really interesting. What they, you know, what they learned.
I would love that. I would love that. You know, all people are welcome. You know, it's, I mean, this is just part of me getting the word out there, you know, about what I do, but just this work in general. And again, a lot of what I do is also educating. It's, you know, and healing, educating, healing. I mean, it's just all part of what people are seeking these days.
So this probably really helps people to like forgive those people that hurt them, because they have more of a realization that like you guys had this agreement before you came into the body, like your souls agreed to this, and it's a little easier to, and also giving yourself grace. Like when I had my reading with you, it made me feel like, oh, like I chose to have my life go this way, or I chose to be, you know, this kind of person or whatever. And it made it easier for me to give myself some grace around those things. So yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much. We're
you.
so excited to talk to you today, and we'll definitely share your information. I think I have it all from your website. I'll put it in the description and send you some business.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. And when this is up, when the link is up and live, just send it to me so I can share it out, you know, to my people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, ladies. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And if you have any other questions, you know, about any of this, let me know.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.